I want to be calm with my kids. I don't want to yell. I don't want to act stressed out because it's not stressful. This is life. We're all good. But what I want to do is I want to be really clear how they're going to succeed. I want them to constantly have this forward future mindset of what are all the things that I need to be doing and what are all the rewards I'm going to be getting.
What's up, dads? This is the Rise and Dad podcast, a podcast and perspective on life as a dad from dads who are intentional about their fatherhood. I'm your host, Kevin Delro, and we're in season 3. Look at this. You might have noticed that we are in a new space for season 3. The Rise and Dad podcast is produced by 100%, a creative agency here in Seattle that does awesome work for brands all over the country. Look them up, 100%.co. I couldn't have a better guest for our first episode of season 3 to have the founder of 100% on. So I'd love to welcome Michael to the pod.
Woo!
Hey.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Rise and Dad has been produced by Michael and his team here ever since episode 1. Do you remember when I came to you at first and I said, hey, you know what? I'm thinking about this dad podcast. What were you thinking?
You're assuming that I remember. I don't remember, sir. I'm sorry. I feel bad. I should.
The great thing is that without Michael and his team, we wouldn't be here because they produce all these episodes. And you said, hey, you know what, Kevin? We'll produce it. Our team will put it together. And so thank you to 100%, Michael, for having us here. We'll get to the meat of it because you also are a dad. And
I am a dad.
Yeah. And so did you ever think you'd be on the show?
You know, I didn't think so. I don't really go in front of the camera very often.
Yeah.
It's behind the camera.
You
But
are.
I like it. This is a great, I always admired you for this idea. And I think I think this is really fun and interesting, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, you've always just saw me sneaking into the studio with a guest or so, and so you're finally here.
Yes.
We'll talk a little bit about fatherhood and your twin boys. Why don't you just tell the audience a little bit of background about you? Who is Michael?
My name is Michael. You know, for a career, I've always been in the creative agency world, and I was very lucky at a very young age to get amazing father figures, and my grandfather who gave me cameras and really taught me about creativity. And so I've always been in the creative agency world. I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. I am a filmmaker. I love being around artists and creatives. And so now I'm here, round 2 of agency life, building it up, and I'm very thankful I get to be around really, really talented folks.
That's great, Michael. And you are also part of SIFF here in Seattle too, right?
Yes.
Tell us.
Yeah. I'm on the board of directors of Seattle International Film Festival, and I'm helping to kind of promote and spread the good word about the value of film as an art form, about SIFF as an organization. Go out to the theater, go out to Cinerama, SIFF downtown. I'm sorry, SIFF downtown. And yes, love SIFF. Love being a part of that.
That's great. And before we get into the meat of our show, just real quick, tell us about 100%, some of the projects you're working on or that you could tell us, but what are you doing?
We really focus on, in a world filled with AI, we are focused on craft, and we're focused on the combination of taste and technology. So we try to bring really human stories, entertaining stories, the power of journalism to tech firms. So what we're doing is building great, beautiful art for our companies to be more connected. So that could be documentaries, it could be episodic film, it could be travel shows. I feel very lucky to be doing what I do.
We'll get to that part of like following your passion and how that plays into your fatherhood. Start at the top. I always ask every guest this. Tell me about your dad.
Yes. Well, I feel like I won the lottery with my dad. And that's the short version of it is that I was adopted. And, there was a man that at a very young age took me in and decided to father this young boy, and he changed my life. I'm absolutely the luckiest person in the world. You don't get to pick your parents. And I know your parents are great, but I had a bad hand And I completely lucked out. And I got the nicest human being you could ever ask for a dad. He is so smart, the most hardworking human I've ever known. I am proud to be 10% of what he is. He's thoughtful. He's patient. I love my dad.
That's great. And
Yes.
if you don't mind me asking, how old were you when you were adopted?
So he was my full-time father and, raising me at 4.
Okay.
So I've only ever known him really.
Yeah.
I asked to formally take his name and do the paperwork in like my senior year of high school. Before I turned 18, I wanted a symbolic gesture that I wanted his name, and I wanted to be it's kind of, I guess, a thank you now looking back to it. Also, I'm very proud of my name. I chose this name. My last name Bartley is very special to me because I picked it. It's like my second chance at having a great father. So to me, my last name, I feel very lucky to have it. And what's really funny about my life is that from that moment on, I became known more as Bartley than Michael, which is very interesting. I didn't tell people, but I'm proud of it. So
Yeah, maybe it was like this thing about when you took it on, then you like kind of grew into it even more,
yeah,
and everyone took it
yeah,
on. Yeah.
yeah.
And I've seen on social media times where, they've shown papers to a dad they were adopting, officially taking their name and things
Yep.
like that. Was there like a lot of thought behind this whole process and maybe the delivery or how you were going to tell him that this was happening?
I think for me, it was just a big deal because, they never pressured me about it. They've told me now later in life that they wanted it to be my decision. They didn't want to force it on me. And, he never made me call him dad. He never made me, he was just gracious and kind. He's everything that I hope I will be than I want to be. So to me, it was more that it felt wrong to have this other name of this person who I don't really care for. I wanted to have his name because he's my father and he's who made me who I am today. And so it was symbolic. It was, I wanted to be part of the family, even though I was not part of the family, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was something very symbolic to me. Obviously, it meant the world to him, which was very sweet. So it was a great moment.
Yeah. And you probably always felt like part of the family. It was just like,
Of course.
signing on the dotted
Of
line
course.
and making it
Yeah.
official.
Yes, for sure. But there was always this, up until maybe 8 years old, my biological father was in my life.
He was?
Yeah. So I would go and he would have visits and things like that every so often. And so there was this kind of there was a bit of tension, right? And that David Bartley was my stepdad, right?
Mhm.
But, as you live your life, you come to realize the people that are your parents. They're not your parents. They're living their lives. They're real people. David Bartley sacrificed a lot for me and took on, a lot. So, but yeah, so the name change was just was a symbolic thing at the end.
That's really cool,
Yeah.
Michael. Was there a moment when you obviously had two father figure type in your life, like maybe when you and your wife were pregnant, you imagined what fatherhood would be like having this experience?
Yeah. I think the best way to answer that is that maybe I have a unique understanding of the lottery that is parenthood. My kids didn't get to pick me as a dad. I want them to feel like they won the lottery. I want them to feel like I want them to have a good childhood, and I want them to feel lucky to have me. I want them to feel the way I feel about Dave, my stepdad,
Yeah.
my real dad, my David Bartley.
Yeah. So let's get into that. So, dad of two twins,
Yes.
two twin boys.
Yes, identical twins.
Tell me about your boys.
Yes, I have two 10-year-old boys. They are finishing up 4th grade. They're identical twins. To me, they couldn't look more different, but to others, they're constantly getting confused. I have one that's Jack Bartley. I always kind of describe him as kind of more traditionally masculine, like plays every sport, and I'll leave it at that. And then Charlie, that I would say is very emotionally intelligent. So just understands everyone's emotions in the room, knows just the right thing to say, incredibly artistic. very articulate. So yeah, and
Yeah,
they're
that's great. Like there's always this, anytime I talk to someone with twins, they mention how different they are.
oh,
And I've always just loved kind of diving into that dynamic because they're raised in the same area, you parent them the same way, and then it just happens at this point that they kind of go off and find their own personalities.
it's like a beautiful science experiment. I can't believe how it happens, and seeing it happen in front of you is so amazing. And these very, something so exciting to me about twins is this crazy subtlety in their personalities that is just so beautiful to me. Like if you were to meet them right now, and I say, tell me about who's confident and who's not confident. You would say Jack is confident, and he is like busted in the room, taking charge. You'd say he's confident. No way. Charlie is so deeply and innately confident in who he is. And that's such an interesting thing. Like they're identical twins, but seeing them diverge and then seeing how powerful, how much they love each other and how connected they are, even though they're becoming such different people. It's just a absolutely lucky thing to see.
That's really cool. Did it get to the point where you were on the outside looking in, where they were just like two buddies hanging out? And
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. They definitely had the twin talk stuff where they had their own language. So they actually had delayed language. We had to go to speech therapy because of their twin speech. Special words they made up for themselves, which is amazing.
You're not clued into it.
Not clued into it. Not clued in. Yeah. The other big lucky thing about twins is just that they've got a built-in best friend. Like who wants a kid, who wants a friend that's going to do exactly what you want to do all the time and is in the exact phase of your life and is going through the exact same thing? What an incredible gift to have that type of built-in best friend. It actually is kind of like cheating as a parent because I have these two sons who are happy to spend time together and happy to entertain each other. They'll never be lonely. Like that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I had a dad who once said that if you play your cards right with your kid, then you have a built-in best friend, and now you get two.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
So did you, I just have to ask a question. Did you ever dress them up like matching outfits? When did you stop doing that?
So my wife absolutely loved doing that. So she had them in these picture perfect little French countryside outfits, that, identical in every way. And it was really fun. And it was a great time. And that time has passed. They will never do that again.
Never.
They are very, especially now, they're really entering the phase for them of enjoying clothing as expression. And so seeing what type of clothes how do I want to represent myself? So the idea of being identically matched now is not a thing they would do. In fact, there was a really interesting part where everyone refers to them as Jack and Charlie. Oh, Jack and Charlie, Jack and Charlie. And Charlie came home one day about a year ago and said, I'm Charlie. I'm not Jack and Charlie. I'm not this amalgamation of two humans. I'm myself.
Yeah.
And so he kind of had to ask people at school, can you please start calling me by my name? Because even if it was just Charlie, they would say, hey, how's Jack and Charlie doing? Isn't that interesting?
That is really cool. I love that he was confident enough to say, I am my own person.
Yes.
Kind of like, you already touched about having this pride in your name.
Yes.
And he is reflecting that as like, I'm Charlie,
Yes.
Get it right. Like it's just Charlie.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah, man.
I love that. And so as they have kind of formed into their own selves, have you noticed that a difference between friends? And then perhaps they come and they talk about school and you have one experience with one that is completely different with the other.
For sure. Absolutely. Yes. They have some overlap, of course, but they have very different friend groups. So I would say that Jack is probably a bit more interested in being like the cool kid or being with popular kids. So I would say he's friends with all boys and they're all rowdy, sports, and loudmouth, and sometimes disruptive, and and Charlie's almost only friends with girls. So it's just a very different kind of style. Now, I think also Charlie is a little bit more open to being friends with more types of people. But yeah, it's very interesting. How funny. Another thing about twins, I just have to say is twins comes with another benefit. When you're in school, there's a lot of times in school, at least I felt this way. You probably didn't. He probably didn't. Um, is that you feel alone. You feel alone or scared.
I never felt alone.
I told you. So when you have your brother who's also your best friend, who's also the same age with you, you got auto backup. You immediately have your crew, your clique. That actually helps you break through a lot and helps kind of carry a lot of momentum through school. And that's super interesting to me, how they kind of have a built-in friend group, and they can always kind of go back to that.
That is great. Have you ever had one of them describe an issue to you and the other one kind of chime in on their perspective on how it's going?
Absolutely, yeah. There's also there's that. There's also now, I think like any siblings where sometimes they want to have the floor and they want to talk, and the other one's chiming in. It's like, you're not the parent. Yeah, you're not the parent right now. And also don't really want to hear from you. I'm having my truth right now, like they're trying to do that. So I will say that like little friction happens, but yes, they absolutely will compare notes at the end of the day around some altercation that happened or something of what they saw and what they heard. And it's just super funny.
That's great. Yeah. When I was in school, I didn't have a twin, obviously, but I had a big brother. And so it was always, Brian's little brother. And I can, relate to Charlie, just wanting to be like, I am me, I'm someone else. And,
yes,
part of when I was that, I always like had this chip on my shoulder that I was like, I'm going to be better than my older brother. I could do this better. I could do this better and achieve more and all that. So it kind of pushed me to always just, set my own name for who I was.
Yeah,
but I feel that. Real quick before we move on, one piece of advice for parents of twins and school.
Oh man. One piece of advice. I mean, an easy one right off the bat is just keep them separated in different classrooms. I think the dynamic of twins can lead to goofing off or not focusing because again, if you have your hype man in every room, you might kind of class clown it up a little bit more. So I found that having them have separate experiences and able to thrive separately really helped. So that was a big one.
That is really cool. Have you guys tried to make sure that they were separated?
Yeah, we requested it every year, and they were, schools have always been really nice about it.
Was that from learning you had a bad experience?
No, I just did a bunch. I am a raging dork, and I like to do a lot of research on Reddit, and other places too. And I just, there's a lot of research.
He's a nerd.
He's a nerd. And and that's what people recommended. And honestly, I just see the benefit of it.
All right, Michael, I like to ask all my guests about their approach to fatherhood. This one for twins, I might ask you about your approach to fatherhood and is it different per kid? I know that we talked a little bit up front about kind of the differences between them, but earlier on you talked about, you said this quote about life coming from you and not at you and how that transform your parenting. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually don't know where that came from exactly. I think obviously my parents and their parenting style, but I think that there is the first thing when any issue in their life, it's first, what can they change? What do they have an effect on? What could they have done differently? How can they win someone over? What's a way? Like, it's really avoiding blaming others. And trying to see in any way, shape, or form, how could you have made a more positive impact or a change in that situation? So that's a big one. My parenting style, I would say another, like a big thing in my, I guess, something I believe in a lot is I want to be calm with my kids. I don't want to yell. I don't want to act stressed out because it's not stressful. This is life. We're all good. But what I want to do is I want to be really clear how they're going to succeed. And I want them to have a fabulous life if they're doing everything they need to be doing. If they're doing their homework on time, they're getting computer time. If they're getting this, they're getting this type of, I want them to constantly have this forward future mindset of what are all the things that I need to be doing and what are all the rewards I'm going to be getting. So it's very focused on like future reward and it's very calm. And I think one thing I might be benefiting from now as having 10-year-olds is I don't ever repeat myself. I'm very clear what the finish line is and what they're going to get and how it's going to work. If they don't, that's it. Like if it, so there's not really like, punishment and stuff in our house has become very simple because like that's not happening. You're done with the computer and they know that's it. They're not going to whine. They're not going to beg. They're not going to plead. It's not going to happen. So they're going to know the next time to fix it. So I like to be really earnest with them. That's kind of like talking to a kid like an adult, but I think it's just being really transparent on what the rules are and what the outcome's going to be and how they can affect it. It's on you, man. So that's helped me a lot.
I really like that. It's around like goal setting, and it's almost like this binary trajectory of like, here's where we want to be.
Yeah.
Let's march towards that.
Yeah.
Really cool. I like that. I've never heard someone talk about their approach to fatherhood in that manner.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
Something I don't like is when, like, I don't want my kid to whine at me and beg and be like, oh, I still want, like, let's say they did something wrong or they're getting a privilege taken away. I don't want them coming back to me 10 times. It's not about me. I'm not taking it away from you. You took it away from you. And when they start to realize that kind of, that ownership, pretty magical things start to happen and they start listening and you don't have to repeat yourself 10 times. That's been great.
I love that, Michael. That's so cool. Like just taking ownership in the decisions that you made or they made that might have, become a roadblock to getting where we wanted to be. But like the upfront of here's where we want to be and this is the goal.
Yes.
Here's what we need to do to get there. I think it like really just sets them up for this like goal setting, and we'll actually talk about goal setting because you spoke about that earlier. So I love that take. Another thing, you talked about speaking to them like adults.
Yep.
And how that was really important to you.
Yes.
Where did that come from?
I just, you know what I don't want? I don't want it to be Saturday morning and be like, did you brush your teeth? Did you brush your teeth? Did you put your shoes on? Your shoes still tied? Did you clean up the bathroom? Did you do it? I don't want to do that. I don't think you want to do that. No one's I don't want to do that. So I go, hey, this is the expectation. We're going to do all these really cool things today. Here's a list. I actually had them write down a list of what is the order of operations of getting ready, getting dressed, doing it, brushing your teeth, cleaning up the bathroom, doing these things. And we talked about them. We talked about what the expectation is and what it means. I mean, it's not that hard. They're smart. And so I don't want to do that stuff. I don't. And so then I'm like, okay, well, you let me know. You let me know when you're ready to go. And I'm going to be doing this other thing. You let me know. I'm not going to be begging you to clean up your stuff. So they know ain't nothing happening until that list is done. It's all done correctly. And then it's praise. It's like, congratulations. I knew you could do it. Good job. Like, so it's like, that's how I want to be talked to. I want a goal to be set, expectations set, and then I want to have the autonomy. And that autonomy, I personally think autonomy and that like ownership is like exciting for kids. And I think, for example, a big goal we have in the next week is them learning the city bus. And at 10 years old, we're going to learn how to figure out where we want to go, figure out the path, get on the bus by themselves, and take the bus. They're excited about it. I'm excited about that. So
yeah, you did talk a lot about the goal setting aspect and like planning trips. I think you said that. Tell me more about the importance of goal setting and like planning trips or more goals.
I like them. I really like. So at work, I feel like lucky that I get to dream a lot. I get to come up with kind of weird, wild ideas, and I want them to feel empowered to dream big. So, for example, my wife's going out of town for 2 weeks. So I sat each one of Jack and Charlie aside and gave them a brief, basically an assignment. The assignment was you need to make a fabulous day for your brother, something wild. And here's how much money you have to spend. And it was a lot of money. And I put it aside, I said, I want you to remember this day. And I want it to be special for Charlie, as I'm talking to Jack. I want it to be special for Charlie, but I want you to think big about this. Are we going to get on an airplane? Are we going to go, like, what are we doing? Like, what? So, and these are the steps we're going to go through. You're going to go brainstorm and research. You're going to go research ideas. Then we're going to come back and we're going to discuss them. We're going to circle some, talk about them. Then you're going to go back again, and they're making a 1-page document on like, what's the agenda of the day? How are we going to do it? What are we going to do to prepare? How are we going to buy plane tickets? As soon as I told them that, at first they thought I was a little wild. But then Charlie came back and said, we're going to go on a plane to San Antonio, to the largest water park in the United States. And I said, that's what I'm talking about. Yes. And then he kind of couldn't believe that I said yes to it. But I'm like, yeah, dream big. Now figure out the logistics. How are we going to get there? We're going to fly in? Do we have to drive? We get a hotel? He's like, oh, right. Well, yeah, we're going to need to rent a car. I'm like, great. What are the tickets? Should we buy them online? He's like, okay, yeah. Taking notes. So I have a 10-year-old planning this trip. And by the way, I love how audacious he is. I love that. And now he's going to be like, I can do this. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
Middle school?
it's like badge unlocked
What are you
now
talking
because that's easy.
It was easy.
You know?
We could
Get on the
we could
city
just go
bus.
do it.
That's
We
easy.
could just go do that thing. So that's why that excites me. It excites me to see them having autonomy, using their brains. They're brilliant. Kids are smart. Showing them respect, giving them the room to succeed.
That's so fun, Michael. That is one of the things that I'm gonna take back and be like, that's my homework that I really want to do that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And never heard that before. And like, what a fun dad. What a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I'm gonna tell you about what we're gonna play. Well, I'll have my daughter play.
Do it.
I'll have you review the doc. Do you have like a session where you're like reviewing, redlining the doc?
I do review it with them.
That's not possible.
I mean, I want to kind of show them how to deconstruct a big goal. Because that's something that, I mean, in my life, I'm sure you do that.
Yeah.
In my life, a lot of my world is about executing on big ideas. That's why I really admire people like you who don't just say, I'm going to make a podcast. They go and do it. They sit down, they do the work, they make it happen, they win awards. So, yeah.
I love it. Executing, man.
Yeah.
Dream big. Speaking of dreaming big,
Yes.
you dream big. You're a big dreamer. And I mean, that takes us to our next area where I always ask my guests about, work-life balance, balancing being a father, balancing running an agency, taking on these film projects. You obviously are a big dreamer, but how do you balance the time?
I mean, it's a question. I think there's some, I just think I have an obsession. I just want to get the most out of life. I want to be on my deathbed and be like, wow, man, I did it. And I think parenthood is a big piece of that. I think I want to consume all of life. I want to go through the hard times and be up at 4 a.m. and dealing with this. So I just really want to feel productive and I want to feel fulfilled in that way. So to me, what that looks like is I just really want to go all out when I'm working. So when I'm working, I like to just go and be intense, but I feel like I found a really good balance. I usually, not today, but usually I clock out at 5 and I'm gone and I go spend time. So I don't seem to have the issue of like, I'm overworking, not seeing my kids, I'm not working all night.
Yeah.
But I am very focused about what are my goals and what am I doing here? What am I doing here? Like, why did I come here? I came here, like, I don't want to sit and goof around. I want to make and I want to create. I want to be proud. I want to be effective. So it's just, I feel like I've just got a drive that makes me prioritize.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before about how it's important for our kids to see us
Yes.
achieving what we want to do.
Yes.
Right. I'm here producing this podcast. I love you, but I'd much rather be with my daughter right now. And it's just taking time away. But when I come home and I tell her about this podcast, she's so excited to ask me about who my guest was. What did I ask her? What did I ask them? And also her seeing me take on these creative projects and seeing me on my computer building or editing or doing that. I think that it does also motivate her and show her like, hey, this is how we, make great things. This is how we like find fulfillment in creative projects and, do things that are fulfilling for us.
Absolutely. And yeah, I hear you. I agree with you. But this 1 hour is representative of who you are. And you're giving her a tremendous gift of someone who is hardworking, who does what they say they're going to do, who dreams and comes up with new ideas. That is something that she'll look up to you as a father. So it's very valuable.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah. One of the biggest things in our house is accountability. And I know that my daughter, even ever since she could even mumble out the word, I'd be like, what did we say? She'd be like, accountability. And the reason why is that like I just wanted to always show her that if I say something or if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it,
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
Yep.
And that theme carries through when she says something and then she doesn't do it, right? So we always have this idea about accountability and just following through. And this is me, following through on ideas and, visions that I've always had.
Yeah. And trust. And in the end, she wants a father that is doing great things in the world and is making things happen and doing that. There's much worse.
Yeah. So the audience might not know this, but in February, my dad passed away.
Yes.
And when he was on his deathbed, me and my sister and my mom were all surrounding him as his breathing was like slowly going away.
Yes.
And I thought about this moment with my dad, and like we were just like he was just slowly, peacefully dying, and we were all surrounding him. We were surrounding him, talking about how much we love him, and we were like holding his hand, and he just kind of like slowly closed his eyes.
Yep.
And I think about that moment as a dad being like, man, when I die, I hope that it's just my wife and my daughter just telling me how much they love me.
Yes.
And like, I just close my eyes and fall asleep.
Yep.
Like, so I had such a peaceful resolve with my dad's death because it was so calm and we just had a nice goodbye. And my mom and my sister, we were like, well, should we go to breakfast? All right. And we went to brunch after it. It was just so calming.
Yes.
But I think about that moment and we talk about these like passions and following those dreams and everything. But also I think about like, well, how do I prioritize so that's my ending too? Right? Because we could have these great dreams and build these successful films and all this, but like, will we end up there too? Because that's where I want to be.
Yes, I love that. I mean, thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. I completely agree. I hope that it's my wife and Jack and Charlie. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's also, very touching. I completely agree with you. I think, isn't it funny how being a father changes you in that way? Because I was very much I was never really about making all the money, as much money as I could.
Yeah.
For me, it was a lot about making. Like me as a maker, I wanted to be producing things of beauty or interest, or I wanted to be a maker. And I loved that side of me being like a professional artist.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what an agency is.
Yeah.
And so that was always my goal. That was always my focus. And so it's interesting how fatherhood changes like your brain chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah, for me as an artist, I feel like as a father, it switched where, my motion picture was my daughter. And that sounds kind of lame, but I know that me and my wife, we always say, oh man, she's like our biggest flex. Watching her grow and watching her build stuff and do things and make great decisions. That's the motion picture that I'm building, right? And I hope that at the end, just like in my dad's case, my creation is there and I'm just proud and I'm just like, hey, I did it. I'm out. So, I mean, I agree with you in this, but like maybe our kids are kind of like creation of something beautiful. It's just a person.
Yeah. I will say another aspect of it is like my drive to be successful for whatever that means or to, earn for the family is so I can have amazing experiences with my kids.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to do this. I'm really happy that my wife's going on this trip. I want to travel with my boys. So my travel will be going to San Antonio and going to a water park.
That sounds so great.
Yeah.
All right. These are some quick hitters, Michael.
Sure.
The biggest challenge of fatherhood.
The biggest challenge I ever had was resetting what normal is. So like, I think that for me, the first year or two of fatherhood was a lot about like learning who I was again. Like, who am I going to be now as a father and like resetting the norms of my life. And so I think that was the hardest thing. Now I feel like I'm having a blast. 3 or 4 years old onwards, it's fun. I'm like I feel like I'm in the golden years. Yeah. Now I'm like soaring. So for me, the hardest part was like adjusting my expectation, feeling normal again, feeling like I have this or having time under my belt to feel comfortable in being a dad. That took me a couple years.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was tough for me. I was always chasing something of who I was going to be or
Yes.
what we were doing in that moment. And it took me time to kind of figure out, like, oh, this is actually how I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be, and what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment. And it
Yes.
kind of like slowed me down to be like,
Mhm.
let's not think about, a couple years from now, we're in this moment and we're happy.
Yep. Yep.
And I mean, it also takes me back to like when I talked to my wife, you mentioned the golden years. And one thing that I always mention to her, especially during hard times, is that I say, hey, when we're 80 and we're looking back, we're gonna wish we were right here where we are
Yes.
right now. And
Yeah.
and we're here right now. So
Yes.
like just think about that. And
Yes.
I'm sure that you would feel that same way. Like right now where you're at, if you were 80 and someone was like, do you want to be back there? You'd be like, hell yeah,
Oh,
take me there. And
yes.
you'd remember the trips and the San Antonio water park and all that.
Absolutely, you would.
And it almost happens now when you look at like iPhone photos, right?
Yes.
You're like,
Oh,
oh man, I want to do
yes.
that
Oh,
again.
yeah. It's funny also how it puts into perspective that you were talking about that. Like another thing I think about a lot is I want, when my sons are 25, I want to have the relationship that they think they want me in their life. And that's something I worry about. Like the thing I worry about is I really deeply, I want this relationship to keep going. And so I need them to think of me with respect, with love, because I want to maintain this quality relationship the long haul with them. So it's just funny how sometimes you think forward, you think about being 80, looking back. It's like very interesting.
Yeah, that's a great point. My daughter right now, to this still, thinks that I'm like the coolest person ever.
Yeah.
And she just loves hanging out with me. She loves giving me all the love. And I tell my mom this all the time. And she's like, just wait till she's a teenager. She's not going to want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
And I always tell her, I'm like, that's not going to be the case. I mean, I hope not, but
Yeah.
I'm working towards all the things that I'm putting into it today so that on those teenage years, when she's 25, when she's an adult, when she's married, she still wants to hang out with dad. And
Yeah.
dad is still cool. And we
Yes.
have that relationship. And so
Yeah.
in the back of my head, I've always thought about my mom that she always says that to me. Just wait. So
Yeah.
hopefully
I love
she
that.
does it.
I love that. Good luck.
Michael, the best part about fatherhood?
Oh my gosh, the best part about fatherhood is one, getting to know your child, like slowly watching their personality grow and getting to know them more and more. I think is incredibly fulfilling.
Love it. One piece of advice for actually let's change this one up for you. One piece of advice for twins.
One piece of advice,
Maybe new twin parents.
for me, I would say I have a general piece of advice. Don't be afraid of structure. I think sometimes parents get a little too like, oh, my special child and baby folks. I have found an immense amount of success in my parenting by adding structure, expectations, rules. I think children yearn for it. I think they want to know how to be successful. And I think they want to, there needs to be rules and structure. And that's not the most loving thing. But actually, when you provide that and they understand their environment, it helps. The thing about twins, everyone tells me, oh man, twins, you're no wonder your hair's falling out. I think that's kind of a little funny. I have a lot of empathy for all new parents. For me, parenting was more of a mind shock than a physical thing. Yeah, you can be tired. Come on. At the end of the world. Like, I mean, I know it's hard, but for me, it's the emotional change of kind of going from a selfish to a selfless mode and kind of relearning who you are as a parent. And a new parent's got to do that anyway. It's just, if you're changing one diaper, change two. If you're doing one bottle, do two. So is it harder? Yes. But the other thing about twins is you do pay your dues the first 2 years, but then it actually kind of gets easier. So I personally think when I hear someone has a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old, ooh, that's harder. I think that's harder than twins.
Yeah,
Rant over.
No, I love that. I love that rant. But I spoke about it on previous episodes where the physical commitment, the time of like parenting, especially like when they're younger, it's honestly not the hard part, in my opinion. It was like learning about yourself,
Yes.
growing as a parent, but also growing as a partner, because you're like kind of going through this with your wife who's
Yes.
kind of probably feeling the same shit, maybe even worse, actually definitely
Probably
worse
worse, yeah.
than you are. And you guys are trying to like meet somewhere in the middle so you can figure out what are we and what are we doing now in our life. And
Yes.
so I've always felt like that was like way harder than like poopy diaper. Like it's just shit. Like
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Like it's fine. And sleep is sleep. You could figure it out. But I agree with you. It's like
Yeah.
this like mental change with another adult. Your
It's
partner.
also the loss of freedom. I think you get used to so much of your life it being all about you.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, that's hard. You miss it. You miss
Yeah.
going out. I miss going out
Yeah.
or running off to some trip or going to try some new restaurant. And at first you're learning, you're kind of like relearning how to live. What's the timing, how to be a parent. And then once you've mastered that, then now at 10 years old, I'm starting to get those aspects of my life back, which is actually kind of a fun thing.
I like it, Michael. All right, we're going to move on to this or that. Some quick hitters for you, Michael. Would you rather take the boys to a sporting event or an art event?
An art event. Big surprise.
Early bedtime or a late night movie?
Late night movie.
Hell yeah, all the time. We sleep when you're dead,
Come on,
right?
yeah.
I always tell my wife, I'm like, when we're 80, I always flash forward to 80.
Hey, you.
I'm always
You're
like,
an old
but
soul.
I'm like, when you're 80, you're gonna be like, you remember that night we got 12 hours of sleep? God, it was fucking
Oh,
amazing.
never.
No, never.
Yes.
Late night movie all the time. Twins' birthday party or separate birthday parties?
We do twin birthday parties because they actually kind of enjoy having one big thing. But then what we do is we're very intentional about having separate days and separate experiences. Like for example, this weekend we're focused on one-on-one time and splitting the twins up. But for the birthday party, they actually like having one big rowdy party. So
Very cool. Rowdy party.
Yeah.
I love it. One-on-one time or the whole family? And one-on-one time would be you and one of your boys.
yeah, all as a family. I think that one-on-one is so important, but it's just too fun.
I love that. All right, Michael. At the start of the podcast, I asked you to tell me about your dad.
Yep.
Now, I think 20 years from now, if we ran into Charlie and Jack and we said, tell us about your dad, what would you wish that they would say?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I hope they get a smirk on their face and are like, he's a character. He's wild and fun and insane. We would do crazy things together, and he's the first person I call whenever I need help.
That's the best answer. I like that, Michael. And maybe they're gonna mention the San Antonio water park trip. Hopefully, they're gonna talk about writing briefs for their birthday.
Actually, my dad that's so ridiculous. It is funny hearing it said out loud. It is a little weird, but
I'm gonna go home and have my daughter write a brief right now.
Do it, man.
Well, hey, that takes us to the end of the podcast. I'm so happy that you were here, that you allowed us this space. It's about time that you got on the show.
No.
Shared some like great tidbits about parenting, goal setting, writing briefs for your kids. So cool. So great.
Thank you.
That's our time. So for Kevin and Michael on the Rise and Dad podcast, thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Chef's kiss. What's up, dads? Thank you for listening to this episode of the Rise and Dad podcast. We hope that you like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, and do all of the great things that help us continue to make great content for you.